Hello guys and welcome back to another video of Architects 3DP. This is the 15th episode of the Build the Best DIY 3D printer series. In the last episode, we assembled the power supply together with the rest of the 3D printer body, and today we're going to install on it the very last hardware component of the 3D printer, that is going to make everything work, as well as making the cable connections. This last component is, as you may have seen in the title, the motherboard. And at the end of the video, we'll be getting this nice result. Now I'm gonna show you the components that we'll need to build this part of the printer. But before starting, be sure to subscribe and to ring that bell to be notified when cool stuff is uploaded. If you do it, you will help me creating new content and growing the channel to reach more special viewers like you. Alright, so the first part that we'll need to start with the build of this episode are the next. An Arduino Mega 2560 A3 board, the RAMPS 1.4 controller board, 4x A4988 stepper motor drivers with their heatsinks, an LCD module adapter with cables, 4 rubber spacers, and 4 M3x10mm bolts. In this video, we are going to first assemble the electronics to the frame of the 3D printer, and later we are going to make all the connections of the cables, preparing them from the component itself until connecting it into the 3D printer. So first of all, I'm gonna show you the electronics that we're gonna install into the 3D printer. These are going to be the electronics that will control every single component that we installed in previous episodes, like sensors, motors, etc. Alright, so starting with the brain of the 3D printer, we have the Arduino Mega 2560. As always, I'm going to give you my affiliate links to buy each of the components on Amazon. Anyways, there are some packs that include all of them together, and maybe you can save a few bucks if you buy one of those. I will let you the link to buy it too. The Arduino Mega is the board that we are going to program in the next episode, and is the one that will make everything work. On top of it, we are going to install a group of shields fabricated specially to fit in this Arduino Mega board, and will be the next. First, the RAMPS 1.4 controller board. As you may know, I'm an architect, not an electronic engineer, but what I can tell you is that this board has all the connectors ready to control all the components of our 3D printer if we install the stepper motor drivers on it. So now we're going to jump into these stepper motor drivers. As you can see, they come in two parts. The big one is the driver itself, and the other one is the heatsink that we are going to put together right now. In the middle of them, we are going to install the thermal pad that was included with the pack we bought, and is going to transfer the heat from the driver to the heatsink in order to be diffused. We are going to use 4 of these drivers in total, one for each of the axes, X, Y, Z, and the extruder. Finally, the last shield will be holding the cables for the LCD and the memory card. Alright, so once we know all the components we are going to use, we're going to attach all of them, but without the Arduino Mega for now. So we'll pick up the RAMPS 1.4 as a base, and we are going to install the drivers. As you can see, you have to insert the pins in the sockets meant for it, but you have to be very careful to not bend any pin. In the board, you can see the tags for the motors. This one with 2 sockets for the motors will control the Z axis. Then we have the Y, the X, and the extruders E0 and E1. You have to place the drivers with the screws facing up like so. So once set, we'll insert the driver controlling the Z axis. Okay, once we have it, we'll continue with the Y, X. And finally, the extruder one. The drivers are done. Now we'll finally insert the LCD screen shield, and this part is complete. Now we will plug this set of shields we just assembled on top of the Arduino Mega 2560 R3, but before we're gonna do a small installation. For that we're going to prepare 4 small 10mm M3 bolts and 4 rubber spacers. And we're going to pick up as well the 3D printer frame that we have here. All the electronics will go right here in these holes of the frame, so first of all we will install the Arduino into the frame. And then we will plug the RAMPS 1.4 with all the shields on top of it. So we'll pick up the Arduino board and we'll insert the bolts in each of the 4 holes in the corners, inserting the rubber spacers in the back. Once done, we'll screw all these bolts into the holes in the frame, aligning a couple of them and then tightening the bolts like so. Alright, just one more step to finish the first phase of this video. We'll pick up the Ram's 1.4 with all the shields we assembled before and we'll plug it on top of the Arduino Mega attached to the frame. Be careful and do not force the pins, since you could easily break them. Here we go! We just installed the very last hardware component of our 3D printer. Now we just have to make all the connections of the cables and we'll be ready to program in the next episode. We're going to start plugging all the cables from the bottom to the top if we can, that way it will work better. So starting from the bottom left, we're going to install the cables of the heater of the extruder. The order doesn't really matter here, since it'll just work if you close the circuit. So as always, we'll braid the cables and we'll plug them one by one, tightening the screws after inserting them with the screwdriver. Once we have them, we're going to continue with the next two, black and red, that will be the ones controlling the layer fan. So as we did before, insert the cables and tighten the screws. Last but not least, we'll do the same with the rest of the cables of the heated bed. Next, on the right, we'll plug the cables we prepared in the episode where we assembled the power supply into this socket like so. We'll still have a bunch of cables to plug, as you can see here. So to start, we're going to put a bit of order here, and we are going to take only the cables coming from the mesh of the extruder. We will identify the big one, the cable of the stepper motor, and we're going to plug it here like so, next to the driver. Then we'll plug this white one, that is the one coming from the extruder temperature sensor. And we're going to plug it right here, where it's tagged T0 on the board. We're going to let the other two coming from the extruder, and we're going to pick up now the cable coming from the heated bed, that is the temperature sensor cable. And we are going to plug it here, where it says T1 or temperature 1. Next, we'll continue with the cables coming from the X-axis, that again are two, the cable of the stepper motor of the X-axis and the X-axis end stop. So we'll plug the cable of the motor next to the driver of the X-axis, and then the X end stop, we'll plug it right here on the bottom of these columns of pins. Next we'll go with the Y-axis, that will be one more time two cables. We'll plug the motor cable next to the Y-axis driver, and then the Y end stop, two rows on top of the sensor of the X-axis we plugged before right here. Next we are going to connect the Z-axis, and we'll do it right here, next to the Z-axis driver. Be careful since they are two and the gap is small, but be patient and you will do it. Next we'll come back to the two cables we left coming from the extruder, that are the pinda sensor and the fan, and we'll plug them right there, the one with two cables in the second row, and the one with three cables in the third row. Finally, the last ones will be the cables coming from the LCD screen and the SD card reader. We'll plug them in their socket as you can see here. And we are done. Yes, we are finally done with the build of the hardware. The last thing I have to do is to place our custom built 3D printer in the 3D printer farm shelving we built a couple months ago. By the way, you can check the video clicking in the top right corner. Once placed, we'll connect the LED strip to the plug, then the power cable to the power socket, turn it on, and voila, it's working! Now I'm going to make an auto hum to check if I connected the stepper motors in the correct orientation. As you can see, it's working fine. Your 3D printer will not work since I have already programmed the Arduino with the Marlin, and I will explain you how to do it in the next episodes. So you definitely can't miss the next video. Alright, so we can already say that we are done for this episode. Finally, I'm going to make a very quick recap of all the components we used that are, for regular hardware, 4 M3x10mm M3 bolts and 4 rubber spacers. For special hardware, we used an Arduino Mega 2560 R3 board, the Ram's 1.4 controller board, the A4988 stepper motor drivers with heatsinks, and the LCD module adapter with the cables. Okay guys, so that was it for this episode, where we have finished the assembly of all the hardware components of the 3D printer. As always, you will find our affiliate links from Amazon down in the description to buy all the necessary components while helping the channel, as well as the links to download the STL files to print in 3D. Since this is the very last episode where we are going to need more hardware, I'm going to make a complete recap of all the components we used, creating a bill of materials. I will put the link for the bill of materials in each of the episodes of the series, so go and check it out to build your own best DIY 3D printer. In the next two videos, we will program the Marlin, that will be the OS of the 3D printer, a very important part of the build that you don't want to miss. So be sure to subscribe and to ring that bell to be notified when cool stuff is uploaded. Hit the like button if you like the video, leave a comment, and share this episode so more people will be able to learn with the project. Finally, I just wanted to give a special thanks to all of you, and especially to our Patreon supporters for continuing to make this channel possible. If you want to join them and support the channel as well, getting nice rewards and making me super happy, you can do it navigating to patreon.com/architects3dp or clicking here in the top right corner. Okay guys, so as always, see you in the next video.